This is the Stubborn German Podcast, brought to you by, from, at the amazing Stubborn German Brewery here in Waterloo, Illinois.
Yay.
And we are once again here with proud owner, Mr. Chris Ron.
So proud.
Yes.
Hi, Jared.
How are
He
you?
loves this place.
I'm good.
And back again, repeat guest, bartender Liz.
Yay.
Hi, Liz.
How are you,
Hello,
Liz?
boys. How are we?
Yes,
Great.
we are very good.
Hello, listeners.
She says with a sultry
Hello,
voice.
listeners.
Yeah, we are looking forward to this episode. Liz was on the last one, and we mentioned briefly some topics that we thought, we ought to have an episode about that. So we just decided to do it.
So here we
with
are.
it. We're rolling with it.
We're talking bourbon.
Talking bourbon. We're
Bourbon.
drinking bourbon all
We
kinds of
are.
ways.
Drinking bourbon, talking
We
bourbon.
got old fashions and
That's
we
right.
got,
We got
the
it
bourbon
neat.
of the week needs.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into that, what they really want to hear about is the German word of the day.
German word of the day is Schnuckiputzi.
Stop it. It is not that.
Schnuckiputzi.
It's bourbon.
Schnooky Putzy?
Yep.
Wow.
It's bourbon. I'm going with bourbon.
Again? That's
Yeah.
what you guessed on the last one.
Well, we're talking about
That's a good
bourbon
theme.
today, so
Schnooky Putzy.
just going with the theme.
Man, okay, that's a tough one. I'm going to say,
Schnuckiputzi.
man, I wish
Don't
Kevin
Google
was
it.
here.
I'm just trying to think.
Putzy.
Schnooky.
I'm going to
Yeah,
say.
where's Kevin when you need him?
Yeah, I know.
He pulls something out right now.
Yes, he does. He would know this.
Probably be right.
Does he know German?
No,
Oh.
but enough to get
Yeah.
by.
To fake it?
Yeah.
Pretend?
Oh, man, that's tough. I can't even think of anything. Let's see. Schnooky Putzy is
It's all one word.
right, but it sounds
Of
like,
course.
yeah, it's a lot. Okay, I'm going to say it is corn pudding. I don't know. It just popped in my head.
Nice.
Corn
Nice.
pudding.
I like
it's
it.
not relevant in
Jared,
any way.
You're right. That's it.
That's a great guess.
Well,
Corn
If
pudding,
you want-
also known as bourbon.
yes. If you want to stay tuned to the end, please do.
Liz, are you really going bourbon on this?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
just
I
assumed
don't,
she was.
I don't, yeah, I don't know what else it would
Schnuckiputzi
be.
means bourbon.
Of course.
Bourbon
All
and
right.
corn pudding.
Find
thing.
out at the end.
Oh, my
What's your
And,
guess?
My get
He doesn't. Yeah, I know.
too easy.
This is not fair. We need to come in with the French word of the
Obviously,
day,
I
and
know it is.
Chris has to guess.
Spanish word of the day.
Right? Yeah. Anything but.
I sprechen Sie Espanol.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
He did. He took a couple years in high school.
Couple years.
I took one.
Faked my way through it.
One. How'd you get away with that?
Because I'm Liz.
Okay. All right. Well, speaking of Liz, we mentioned on the last episode that you've gone to the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky.
I have. I was just there in April.
Wow. So it's fresh in your mind
Yeah.
what you can recall.
Yeah.
And we talked a lot about like where you went and all that. But and we'll get into that. But I think the focus of this episode, if I recall from Chris's list, is
The list.
is it can kind of be
Das List.
We've all gone. I've gone. We've gone.
Yeah.
It can be tough to plan that out. It's a lot to pack into a few
Oh,
days.
no. It's not hard to plan. You
It's
make
not at
Chris
all.
do it.
Yes, exactly.
That's what we did.
That is the move.
That's what.
because Chris has
he-
been
yeah.
there and done that.
He's a pro. Let's be
many
real.
times.
He's a pro.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we emailed
Sure.
him and told him what days we were going because we were staying at the house.
Right.
And he kind of gave us these ones are close together, these ones are close together, like book these tours, and then once you get them booked, let
Yeah.
me know. And then
Yes.
he revised the list,
The list.
and that's what we went with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not just, okay, well, but Liz knows Chris and they're friends and he hooked her up.
I don't know him.
Anybody.
It's the first time I met him.
Anybody can contact Chris.
So
as a-
Everybody knows Chris.
So
Yeah.
what we always do. So I don't want to make this episode about
Right.
our Airbnb, which is the Stubborn German House of Bourbon, which is an Airbnb in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky.
Why would we
right
talk about
in
that on
middle-
the Stubborn German podcast?
It's a great
I
place.
know.
Highly
Right
recommend.
in the middle of the Bourbon Trail.
Yeah.
But what we do is when people book it, we kind of throw it out there and say, if you need any help or recommendations on distilleries to go tour or hang out at or food recommendations, let us know, and we're happy to give that. So we've had people, as they book, we've had them not take any advice at all. We've had people take just a little, like, oh, what do you really love? What do you think we really can't miss? And then we've had people like say plan our entire thing for us.
That was us.
Yeah, right.
That was us. Because none of us had ever been. We're like, we don't know what to
Yeah.
do.
And we've even had people say, book my tours for me, give me my itinerary, and then they basically
Yeah.
We
pay
didn't
me
do that.
some for my time on when
Right.
when it goes that in depth, where
Sure.
I'm actually booking it for them. But so what I always start with is I always send those people kind of the same email, and what it really does is it gets people thinking about their trip and like what they really want to do when they're there.
Yep.
Because some people want, some people think, oh, I'm in Kentucky, I'm only going here one time. I want to jam in as many
Yeah.
distilleries as I possibly can, and so I don't want to waste any time while I'm there.
Right.
Give me all the bourbon, right? Some
All the
people,
bourbon all the time.
Right. Some people go and they're just kind of like, I want this to just be a leisurely thing where the focus is the bourbon, but we're just gonna kind of
Meander around.
Yeah, we're gonna hang out and hop
Yeah.
around all the distilleries, but it wouldn't make any sense to start in Louisville and then end up at Wilderness Trail
Right.
in the same day. That's probably
And
an
see,
hour
I don't
or
know
25
that.
minutes away.
How would you know if you
Well,
didn't talk to Chris first?
I'm gonna send you this
Yeah.
email, and it's gonna. So basically,
Yeah.
I'll run down a couple of the things on it, but it's nothing too crazy. But it's just kind of like I first I start with like, what time do you plan to get into Louisville? Because there are a lot of things to do there downtown. So
A
if you're gonna
lot.
get there at say noon, you're gonna leave early in the morning at St. Louis-ish time, and you're gonna get there around noon. Then I can plan one or two things downtown there.
Right.
Lawrenceburg, our house, is about an hour east of there. So it's kind of a nice place to kind of stop. You've already been in the car for about 4 hours. Stop, do a few things,
Stretch your legs.
eat some lunch, do that kind of thing. And then
Quench your thirst.
drive that last hour, which is all interstate to 64, to Lawrenceburg, where you're going to stay. So that's kind of the first thing. And then I always say, like, what are the distilleries that are on your must-see list? Like, what's the focus here? A lot of people love Buffalo Trace, and for good reason. It's great bourbon. It's a great place. And a lot of people just say, like, that's why we're going. We have to go to
Yep.
Buffalo Trace. So, okay, well, then that we need to focus there, and we'll
Yeah.
build the day around your Buffalo Trace experience. So,
Yeah.
so it's good to know which distilleries, like, they have to go see. I always ask them, like, have the people in your group or yourself ever been to any distilleries there before? And if so, do you not want to see those because
Right.
you've already seen them?
Yep.
Or did you love them so much you want to see them again?
Yeah.
So those are all kind of questions you need to think about. And then I kind of say, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, like, how into, quote unquote, into bourbon are you? Like, number 1, it would be like, I've never tasted bourbon before, and 10 would be like, I have a bourbon collection at home that rivals any bourbon bar in Kentucky.
Yep.
So like, where are we on that?
Okay.
1 to 10. Liz, where's your bourbon
Well,
bar?
before I went on the trip, I had 0 bottles. Now I've got about 12.
Okay.
There you go.
She's not messing around.
That's not bad at
All
all.
right.
That's very good. I'm impressed. Okay, and then the last couple things I ask are like what kind of pace do you want to? Which we kind of talked about. Are we?
Chris likes a fast pace.
I love a fast pace.
He's like,
I'm
no,
there.
seriously. It's
I
like
am.
boom, boom, boom.
Literally, I went with Chris on a barrel pick, and the itinerary he sent was to the minute. It was like,
Well, Jared,
41 minutes
have you
here.
ever
It's a
used
7-minute
Google
drive,
Maps?
and then 12 minutes. And
they tell you
Oh,
it's
yeah.
going to be 11 minutes. So why
Oh.
would I write 10 if it says 11? Write 11.
Don't let him give this excuse to Google
but
Maps. We
I
stuck
will,
to it.
I will
We did.
say we did the same thing. We used Chris's advice and did the boom, boom, boom schedule.
Yeah.
But we were at Maker's Mark and we had a tour scheduled at Limestone Branch that we were 15 minutes late for because Makers went over
They
on
went
their
over, huh?
tour.
So that happens.
You do got to pad in a
Yeah.
little bit of.
You either
yeah.
have to do the kind of rude thing at the end of the tour,
Which
and
Chris
go,
did do.
Go, I gotta go. We got a tour coming.
No,
Can
we
you wrap
just
it up?
we just
Oh, it
we
logged
just
still?
we
Yep.
just called Limestone Branch and when we left
Yeah.
Makers, we're like, hey, we're
Yeah.
running late. They're like, that's fine, just find us.
Yeah,
It was
Nice.
a
Yeah,
small
it's
place.
a small place.
Yeah.
Just fine. We'll be the people on the tour.
Yeah, we'll be the group of 5. They're like, where's our tour?
Yeah, where's the rest of the people?
But
Yeah,
yes, if
they're
you
all
are
good with that.
by the book to the time to the minute. Hey, let's go. We got to go. You can do that. And
Yes.
if you want to chill out and just take your time at each one and just wait for the next one casually, you can do that too.
You certainly can. And yeah, so I don't know. My reason for like going at a crazy pace during the day is because all of the distilleries are kind of have similar hours. They all pretty much
10 to
open
5.
around 10. They pretty much all close around 5. Might be one that opens at 9, one that stays open till 6, something like that. But they're all right in there. So obviously, you're probably not wanting to do anything in the morning before 9 or 10. But later, potentially, if the distilleries were open until 8 or 9 o'clock, you might spread your day out a little more and take it a little more easy and use that whole time. But you only have till like 5 o'clock.
You gotta cram it all in there.
If you're not careful and you want to leisurely go around, we got to get lunch, you might only get 2 distilleries if you're not paying attention.
That's right. Yeah,
makes sense.
If you go without a plan and you go without any reservations or bookings anywhere, odds are you can probably poke in and out of like gift shops, and maybe grab a tasting. Maybe you luck into a tour if someone canceled or whatever, they didn't fill something up. Maybe you have a small group, just 1 or 2 people. They might say, we normally have 12 people on a tour. We only had 10 book it, so we got your 2 spots here. So you can tour Woodford today. So that can happen for sure. But if you don't have a plan a couple 2, 3, 4 months out, you're probably not gonna get the most out of your time.
So let's get into that a little bit. If you want to go and you want to do some of this yourself, if you don't want Chris to do everything for you, but maybe you want to at least know what's going on. You can't just call the night before and book a tour, right?
Oh, gosh,
how far out on some of these do you need to be thinking?
Most of them
2
are
months?
2 to 3 months.
Right.
3 months. I would if I knew I was going in 4 months, I would be checking calendars. I just checked today actually we're going in September. So what is this? Is almost July. So that's 3 months. 3 months. And I was checking last month actually too. So I was checking 4 months out. So 4 months out, there was nothing available yet. Like they have their calendar up, but there are no tours available that day. They release them usually 2 months to 3 months ahead of time.
And it's not just, some of them have like a day. You got to get on this day.
Yeah. So I was going to, that's a whole thing.
Right?
Your
you don't just get on
Buffalo
whenever you want.
Trace. That's a hard one.
Is that one, so I was going to get into that on its own. And we can do that right now.
Fine.
But Buffalo Trace, their bourbons are very sought after, and so are their tours. And the tours are too, because they sell an allocated bottle, a different one every day. It's in a pool of I think 5-ish different ones. So it's either going to be Eagle Rare Day when you get there, or it'll be Blanton's Day, or it'll be Weller Special Reserve,
or the E.H.
Taylor Small Batch.
That's what we got.
Or Sazerac Rye. Buffalo Trace, the regular bourbon is normally always for sale.
Yeah.
I got that too.
Bourbon Cream is always for sale.
Though I kind of think when we went, and we were maybe later in the day, I don't remember what time it was, but I don't think they had any Buffalo Trace left, for sale.
We made sure that was our first stop of the morning, and we stood in a line in the pouring rain to get in there to see what it was, because like he said, they have their rotation, and there's a website you can go that kind of gives you a hint of what it's going to be. But so we stood in the rain and we got in there.
What'd you get?
We got the E.H. Taylor.
Cool.
And then I got some Buffalo Trace.
Nice. That's my favorite out of all. When I go and it's E.H. Taylor Day, I'm like, I hit the lottery. Everybody loves Blanton's and all that, and I know you can flip your bottle of Blanton's for $300 or whatever the chain liquor stores sell it for $2.99 or whatever.
I had people trying to buy my E.H. Taylor. Somebody in line behind us.
Really?
Somebody in line behind us at Castle and Key heard us talking about it, and they're like, I'll follow you to your car and I'll buy that off you for $60. And I'm like, no.
Nice.
Well, what'd you pay for it? It's probably close to 60.
40.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So their prices there at Buffalo Trace are regular MSRP.
Yeah.
And then there's a secondary market on all this stuff. So Blanton's obviously is probably the most secondary. So there's money to be made there. So people will stand in line. Locals will go and stand in line there and just wait and hopefully score a bottle of Blanton's
and try to
and then they just made $200 that day.
Yeah.
But the thing that caught my eye when we were there is that they have the signs all over where the bourbon is, like one per customer, but then you see people walking out with like a case of it. It's like, how'd you get that? You got connections here?
It could have been like some, one bottle of Blanton's and then
No, it was all E.H. Taylor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were watching them. We were watching these people leave. We're like,
that's crazy.
You got hookups or what?
I guess it's who you
that's
know,
wild.
Liz.
I guess
They also do a thing where if you buy one, I think you get one per. Is it like every 3
90
months?
days.
90 days.
Every
Okay.
90 days. Yeah.
So you go into Buffalo Trace Purgatory at that point, and you don't get out until 90 days, and then you can buy another bottle of E.H. Taylor or whatever. So your 90 days might be up soon, huh?
I guess I need to go.
Yeah, you better go.
Let's book a trip.
Before we move on, we're all holding bourbon drinks here that we have not actually had yet.
Ching.
Ding. And what do we got? You got your, is this a Liz's
me
old-fashioned?
and Chris are both drinking the Liz Old Fashioned, which has the
Outstanding.
Old Granddad bottled in bond with the brown sugar and the regular old bitters.
Yep.
And you have
I have the Bourbon of the Week, which this week happens to be Russell's Reserve 10 year.
That's good
and it is
stuff.
very good.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have a sip while we're waiting for the next topic.
Does that mean keep talking so you can drink? Got it.
What are we going to talk about next?
The next topic is
Bourbon.
bourbon.
Well, before so we talked a little bit about you can go down. Yeah, go ahead.
I need to put a little bow on
on
the Buffalo Trace thing, and
Wrap
then we'll
it
move on. So to get your Buffalo Trace tour, you have to book this online ahead of time. And what it is, it's the month before. So if you know you're going to be there in, let's say, October, you need to, in September, the first Tuesday in September, you need to be on their website at 8 a.m. It's 9 a.m. Eastern, so 8 a.m. Central, and because that'll get you too. But be on your computer, and as soon as the clock ticks 8 a.m., they'll release that month's tours. And so they have the standard Buffalo Trace tour. They have the Hard Hat tour. They have the E.H. Taylor Bourbon Pompeii tour. They have the expansion tour. I think that's it. But they're all listed throughout the day. There's a ton of them, but they go within the first 5 to 10 minutes.
Wow.
So if you're there 5 minutes in, you will not get one. So you got to get there. You have to be there waiting at 8 o'clock in the morning. So don't mess that up. And I have had one other time recently where I went to the website and it actually said it was a different date than the Tuesday, but it said when it was, and I was there that date and I got my tour. So kind of check the website and pretend like you're going to go through the phases and actually book your tour.
See, these
and
are
it'll
things
say
you
that at the
wouldn't
bottom.
know if you didn't listen to this
secrets.
podcast.
Well, the 6 people that listen are going to know exactly
have
how to
the
get
hookup.
there.
Old people.
It might be like 4.
Now we're never going to get to take a tour.
I know, because I
You're
just
giving away all the
told
secrets.
6 people how to do it. That's it for Buffalo Trace. Oh, and that's a free tour. Just about every other tour on
Pretty
the
sure
on the
Chris
Bourbon Trail.
charged me money.
Yeah,
for
when
that
you go
one,
with me,
but-
I charge my group because I had to be at my computer at 8 a.m.
Yes.
All his hard work pays off.
So that was definitely one of my favorite tours that we went on the trip, partly because of the history, the character. You can see how old this facility is. Some of it's older than others, and I love seeing the different construction, and it's just
Such a cool place.
it is so cool.
The water tower.
You're gonna love going to Buffalo Trace.
Yeah, it's right there.
And
We have the Buffalo Trace Water Tower at the brewery.
oh right,
yeah.
So, many of the distilleries are kind of like that. There's a lot of history here. There's a lot of neat landscape. That's something that I didn't really think about when we went, was these are all along rivers or creeks. There's trees everywhere. It's gorgeous. It's some of the neatest scenery
place.
ever. You think of it's a distillery. It must be some industrial complex
just a bunch
or
of
something.
buildings.
No. And there is a lot of buildings.
Maker's Mark was my favorite place
Might
that
be
we
one of the
went to.
nicest.
Yes,
that was my favorite.
The grounds there were so
Gorgeous.
pretty, and they were so well kept.
Yep.
They were just the whole
between the
stained glass stuff,
the creek with the stone-lined walls,
and the horses.
And then where we did the tasting, that kind of backs up to the bluff and has all that stone lined.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just gorgeous.
My favorite part about the Maker's Mark tour is they when they start the tour, you're kind of at the top of the hill, and the tour guide his back is to the distillery, to all the grounds, and you're facing the distillery, you're looking over it, and he starts talking, doing a spiel, Maker's Mark started in 1950, whatever.
Spoiler alert.
By the Samuels,
he says the tour guide's a he. We had a girl.
Okay.
Well, I had a guy, so it was a he that said that to me. So
you just gotta say they.
Oh yeah, they. I don't know what his pronoun was. Or whatever. Anyway, so the person said.
The tour guide.
The tour guide says every drop of Maker's Mark that you've ever had in the entire world is made right behind me, and it was just kind of like, whoa, that's freaking cool. Because you think about it,
there's a lot of Maker's Mark out there.
Like we're at Stubborn German tonight or here, but like you could go down, you could go to Randy's, you could go to you pick any bar here in Waterloo. There is a bottle of Maker's Mark on the shelf.
Yeah.
That's every town.
It's
every town
everywhere.
has a bottle of Maker's Mark.
Yeah.
You know, you can go anywhere in the world, and I bet you if they have any kind of liquor selection at their bar, they probably have at least 2 bottles of bourbon. One is going to be Jim Beam White Label, and one will be Maker's Mark. They have a low and a high, right?
Yeah.
So the high end is Maker's Mark, and I don't know. It was just really cool to hear him say that. It's just like, man, think about that for a minute. That's crazy.
Correct me if I'm wrong. What I recall, because we went to the cooperage where they make the oak barrels that every
we went to Independence
bourbon has to age in.
We did not do that.
That is a highly recommended.
You were not there on the right day.
Definitely
they are only open certain days, and they have like 2 or 3 tours a day.
Now,
in Lebanon,
do I recall correctly that didn't they have like an entirely separate section just for Maker's Mark? Or am I confusing that with another brand? It was either them or Buffalo Trace, but I swear it was Makers. They had like...
Well, I don't know if a separate section, but
it was like
they do
their lumber, the wood. They were like,
all
this wood
right.
is for Makers,
That's right.
and all the other wood is for everybody else.
The
Did
wood
they get
that was
special
seasoning.
stuff?
Yeah. I mean, they wouldn't talk about it.
It's secret.
Seasoning in their parking lot, basically. It's just pallets of barrel staves sitting in a big parking lot.
But it wasn't like, okay, here's 90% of our wood that's going to go to everybody, and here's 10% that goes to Makers. It was like, here's a crap ton of wood that's going to Makers.
All for Maker's Mark.
And then this is everybody else's wood. Like, they definitely catered to Makers down
Mark.
there. Yep. Yeah. It was cool.
Well, and they're maybe, 10 minutes away from each other, I think? 15 minutes?
And
from,
again,
Loretto to Lebanon.
Chris can hook you up and let you know all about how you get that tour.
I've done that tour a few times. That's a fun.
It was a good one.
Yeah.
So,
one of the other perks that I'm sure Liz took advantage of, and I know I did. Chris is going to tell you where to eat.
Oh yes.
He's going to
sure.
You want to get breakfast? Here's where you got to go.
Gosh,
you like a good coffee
breakfast spots? Yeah.
Yes.
Bardstown, you're going to Pat's Place. That's where the locals eat. When you walk in the door, everyone stops what they're doing. The forks hit the plate, and they turn around and stare at you and go, "Who is this joker?"
Yeah.
And then about 3 seconds later, they all go back to what they're doing. The waitress comes over and is like, "Hey, can I get you a table?" And they all of a sudden, your family. It's cool. And they'll start asking like, "Oh,
where are you from?
Yeah, what you in town for?" And you're dressed in like, I have my
Bourbon shirt,
Heaven Hill T-shirt with a limestone branch hoodie on, with a hat that says Stumpy's or something.
Trail.
Yeah. Well, I'm here to drink bourbon. But that's a great.
You got to
place.
eat. And, there's many good places down there.
Yeah. There's great places in Bardstown, in Lawrenceburg where our house is. There's a couple of really nice places to eat.
The Bourbon Station. We ate there one night. It was
place.
good. The pizza place, the Craft House Pizza. They've got good pizza.
Yeah, good pizza. If you happen to be there like on a day, like Sundays, Mondays, and even Tuesdays, hours are a bit iffy for bars, restaurants, and distilleries too. So it can be done. I just helped a group that's going to be there Monday and Tuesday, and they're leaving Wednesday. But I got them a full, those 3 days that they're there, I got them a full, trip planned of lots of fun things. So, it can be done. It's just not ideal. It'd be really nice to go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then beat that crowd, because Saturday's, obviously the busiest day. If you can avoid Friday and Saturday at all, I would do it. But
that's when we went Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and nothing wrong with it. It's just, and if you have your tours and stuff, you walk right in, and they're like, let me see your ID, and here we are. So, it's not hard to do, but there's lots of good food options. Another one that I really like is called the Old Owl Tavern at the Beaumont Inn in Harrodsburg, Kentucky. Harrodsburg is right between Lawrenceburg. It's to the south of Lawrenceburg, and then it's further south is Danville, where Wilderness Trail is. So I like to make my south loop. We'll get into the loops here in a second, but my south loop, I like to make that end up at Wilderness Trail. So that's the end, and then you drive back, towards our house. This is Yeah.
Yep.
And you go through Harrodsburg and you eat there at Old Owl. Did you go to Old Owl to eat or not? You would have remembered it.
What?
It's like Southern cooking. They've got like pan fried chicken and
I don't
country
remember.
ham
We may
and
have
fresh biscuits and all this stuff.
I mean,
it's
it was
crazy.
a long day
I'm so
that day. So, was it like
man.
a little like fancy kind of looking restaurant? Like when you walk in, the waiters were like dressed up.
Kinda, yeah.
I think we did.
Yeah.
I think we did.
Wow, you must have had a lot of fun.
I think so.
I was the driver.
Yep.
God. Don't say that.
No, I was. I was the chauffeur.
So you touched on it a little bit. You've got various tours. So if you're going to go to this
I call them
town, you
loops.
want to do loops,
Yeah.
right?
So and it's not anything that I mean it's just stuff that I threw together.
Sure.
Like it makes more sense on the map.
Yeah.
Because they're close to each
Yeah,
other.
you don't want to drive an hour and a half between every distillery when you don't have to.
Yeah,
so.
do the ones that are close to each other.
Yeah.
You might have one that you're really stoked to get to, but you'll do these other 2 or 3 while you're here.
Okay.
And then tomorrow you'll be in another area and you'll do those. So
Yeah.
Do you
I've
mind
got-
getting into a couple of these loops? Like
Yes.
which distilleries are which
We
loop?
really should because that's
Okay.
the fun part. Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll start with I always start with what I call the Lawrenceburg Loop.
Okay.
So, and it's towns other than Lawrenceburg, but that's kind of the central area. So it's Wild Turkey, which is in Lawrenceburg, and that's like 4 or 5 minutes away from our house. Four Roses, also in Lawrenceburg, on the other end of town, about 10 minutes away from the house. And then you have Buffalo Trace, which is in Frankfort, just a few minutes to the north. Woodford Reserve and Castle and Key are like right next to each other near Versailles, and that's just over the bridge from Wild Turkey. So it's this is all the same kind of proximity. And then there's Bullet, which would be sort of on the way and in that proximity. And then Whiskey Thief is like a really small
That place is
distillery.
cool.
Yeah, you guys went there. You tell me
We
about that.
did. We had a good time. So, like, you just walk in, and it's like a shed. You walk in, and, like, that's the tour. You walk in, and they start talking about, all the tours. Once you do one, you've heard the same thing.
Yeah.
But, like, and then you walk over, and they have, like, their barrel. They have, like, I think they had 5 different barrels, and, like, the tour guide's just, like, thieving the bourbon out and, like,
Nice.
all right, here's the first barrel. And she walks around and, like, gives you a little bit in your glass, and then she's like, all right, who's ready for the second one? And then they had a little bar in there that you could buy more stuff, more beer. And then they have food trucks
Okay, cool.
out there. And then they had this really cool, like, fire pit out in the middle of the field. Because it used to be the Three Brothers Farm or something.
Yep. Uh-huh.
And then, so they had, like, the fire pit and those Adirondack chairs, like, all around it. So, like, they stay open later.
Sure.
So, like,
Yep.
you can hang out there at nighttime.
Nice.
Yes.
But that
And what
place
was the name of this place?
Whiskey Thief.
Whiskey Thief. Okay, cool.
It was really cool.
We didn't go there, Chris.
No, we didn't. You'll have to go again.
You'll have to check it out.
I definitely want to go again.
Highly
Yes.
recommend. But literally, it's like a shed.
So with
Okay.
yeah. So with that loop, it's like that was like 7 distilleries. So 7 distilleries in one day isn't really like impossible, but it's definitely impossible to tour 7 in a day. But you could go to you could say like tour 2 or 3 of them, and then just stop into gift shops at the rest of them. So like I always make like my must see list for that loop. So like for obviously Buffalo Trace, that's like bourbon mecca. Like don't miss that. You need to go to Buffalo Trace.
Yeah.
I would say Castle and Key is a don't miss. I would definitely tour there for sure. Just a really cool old distillery that they've kind of made modern again, but left the patina, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
And then a trip to Wild Turkey is always great because you have the chance to run into Mr. Jimmy Russell, the stuff you're drinking there.
Of Russell's Reserve, yes.
Yep. So he may be
Yeah.
there. I've ran into him a couple times there. And then Whiskey Thief is kind of my hidden gem there to just kind of hang out and so low key and just relaxed and fun. So.
Don't forget about the brewery. Threw us a brewery in our day when we did that day. The Sig Lusher.
Yeah. Yep. So that's in Frankfurt.
Because we're beer people.
Right, I've heard.
So and I can tailor it to whatever. I had one group that wanted to do some wineries, and I'm like, dude, I do not go to Kentucky for wine, but if you need to go,
that's like
I know
California.
of a couple that, and I know of some that I've heard are better than others, so I let them know what I know. But so the next loop that I have, and I've got 3 more loops, and I can buzz through them pretty quick.
Okay.
But the Louisville loop would be just downtown there. So that is going to be Old Forester, Angel's Envy, Kentucky Peerless, the Evan Williams Experience.
We did that.
Michter's. Nulu is there. Starlight is in Indiana, pretty close across the river. And then Rabbit Hole is in the Nulu neighborhood. So those are all, again, that's kind of a lot to do in a...
And Expo. You have to go to Expo if you go to Louisville.
Expo is not a distillery.
No.
but you have to go there.
Okay.
It's fun. So my little hidden gems there are, if you do the Evan Williams Experience on the weekends, they have something called the Speakeasy Tasting. I love this because I'm kind of a history nerd too, as well as a bourbon nerd. So the Speakeasy Tasting is you knock on the bank vault door in the basement, and they ask you what the password is, and like some tour guide just got done like telling you a bunch of random facts, and the password is one of the random facts that the guys ask. It's just kind of cool.
Cool.
And then he lets the group in. Everybody sits around this old time bar. And then the guy giving the spiel, leading the tasting, is an actor pretending that he's in the mid 1800s before Louisville was actually an established town.
Okay,
so it's super cool.
Nice.
So he's like a bartender at the local pub.
That's
there.
cool.
Have to do that next time.
Yeah, right.
That's super cool. Peerless is a really cool brand with lots of interesting history that people don't really even realize, and they have got really delicious whiskey. And I loved Rabbit Hole when I went. I love all these, but I love Old Forester, I love Michter's, all
I've
that.
heard good things about Rabbit Hole.
Rabbit Hole was so cool. I only went there once, but my favorite part about that is we didn't even have a tour, but they said we went in the front door. We asked if there were any tours available. They said no, but then they said you can go to the bar, which is up the ramp and then up the stairs to your left. Go to the bar, buy a flight. You can taste everything that we would taste on the tour. Like, okay. So we do that, and we start walking up this ramp that we didn't really know much about. And there's windows, and every, you look left out this window, there's a guy, taking in new barrels. Look to your right. There's a guy, like, mashing in. He's working the controls.
Yeah.
Keep going. On the left, there's a guy filling barrels. And so it's like there's people working on making whiskey in that building right there. A lot of tours you do, like you go to Jim Beam and you take the tour, you see a lot of cool stuff, but you'd never see anyone make any whiskey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just like, well, what did I see here? So I don't know. I thought that was really cool just to actually be able to see work being done.
Sure.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's every day or just the day we were there, but so that's my Louisville loop. Did you guys do... What did you all do there?
In Louisville?
Yeah.
We just did Evan Williams and Merle's Whiskey Kitchen for lunch, and then we went to Expo.
Cool. So Expo is like the hole-in-the-wall dive bar. I mean, did it look like they were open when you opened the front door?
The front door was locked when we got there. I was literally like banging on the door, like, why are you not open? Because we Googled it and it said they opened at 4.
Did you turn around and tell the rest of the group, like, look, it's all part of the show?
Yeah, no. Well, no. Like, we just stood outside and then finally, finally the bartender came to the door and she's like, sorry, I'm running behind.
I think that place opened till like 4 in the morning.
It's insane. No wonder they're behind.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Like, it's pretty hole in the wallish.
Yeah, for sure. But it's fun.
But they got all your mellow corn bottles around the tap.
They sell the most mellow corn besides Stubborn German in the world.
Right?
They have all the empty bottles up around everything to prove it, too.
Yes.
Up like on top of the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's everywhere.
So the next loop would be the Bardstown loop. And so Bardstown is a town that's basically about 35, 40 minutes south of Louisville and about 35, 40 minutes, let's say, southwest of like Lawrenceburg, Lexington, that area. It kind of makes a triangle of that, and geographically. But the distilleries in Bardstown is the bourbon capital of the world. It even says so on their sign, so it's true.
Right.
But the distilleries there are Heaven Hill, Lux Row, Willett, Bardstown Bourbon Company. I put Jim Beam in there, which is a little further away, but let's still call it that.
Sure.
There's where Deatsville is. There's I think it's called Cold Springs, if I'm not mistaken. There's a little up-and-coming distillery there that we took a tour, basically, of the ruins of the old distillery that were there. But they're trying to get things going there, so that's a up-and-coming thing. And then in downtown Bardstown, there's Preservation Distillery. But kind of my must-see things there. I would make sure you check out Bardstown Bourbon Company. It's kind of the opposite of like Maker's Mark and Jim Beam and Buffalo Trace, all brand new. They
but in a cool way, like state of the art
yes.
and very modern, industrial, kind of cool.
They call themselves like the Napa Valley, of distiller of the Bourbon Trail. So it's kind of cool to see. Things are a little pricey there, but definitely tasty. So I would also make sure to hit Heaven Hill. If you get there early, they sell some allocated bottles in the morning. They have good tasting type things. You visit an old rick house. Yeah. So cool place. And then Willett, right across the street from Heaven Hill. Willett is awesome. Some of their bourbons I'm not a giant fan of, but some of them I really am a huge fan of. And then their tour is really great. So the tour is okay, we're going to start here in the tasting room. And so you start by tasting. So here's 2 or 3 samples. Now let's walk to the distillery. So here's the still. Look at that. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, by the way, we're going to have 2 or 3 more here. Okay. So, and then now we're going to check out the fermentation tanks. We're going to have 2 or 3 more here. So it's a walking, and then we're going to the rick house. Let's try some more. Yeah, it's great.
That is great.
So, and then you end in the tasting room and drink 2 or 3 more.
Okay.
And then by the end of it, you're like, I didn't know Willett had this many
Definitely
labels,
go on the Willett tour.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, we didn't do any of those that he just named. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to do that next time.
Yes, for sure.
Make a note of that.
And then when you go to Bardstown, make sure to get lunch at Willett, at the bar at Willett. It's the most expensive egg salad sandwich you'll ever buy in your life, but you'll thank me later.
I've heard that before, right? Yes.
Probably from
egg
Chris.
salad sandwich, yeah. Okay.
This egg salad sandwich has its own Instagram account.
Nice.
What?
Yeah. It posts regularly.
It posts. It's crazy smart.
It's really awesome. All right.
Cool.
Then you didn't do any of those?
No.
Oh,
man.
Yeah, you got to go back. Right.
We are. We're going back. We've already talked about it.
So then my last loop is the South Loop, and that's basically south of Bardstown. So Bardstown's already kind of a little on the south side. Mm-hmm. This is even further south. So that's your Maker's Mark, Limestone Branch, where they make Yellowstone. The Independent Stave Company, where they make the barrel. Yep. So no bourbon tastings at the end of that, which is a good sober up point.
But
actually.
You know what is great about it? There's no bourbon tasting, but the smell of that charred oak is amazing.
It's killer. Yeah,
oh my
it's
God.
almost as good as being in a rick house.
Yes.
Yep. Which is the icing on the cake of any tour, by the way, is going into the rick house and smelling that's why you do a distillery tour, ladies and gentlemen. So Independent Stave. There's Log Still, which is a brand new distillery up and coming. And then, of course, Wilderness Trail. Your favorite and mine. But when I made up my must sees for that loop, I literally wrote, honestly, it's all of these. I would hate to miss any of these.
Yeah.
So they're all awesome.
Yeah. I mean, we did Log Still Makers, Limestone Branch, and Wilderness Trail, and like Limestone Branch, I didn't realize Yellowstone is pretty popular.
Right.
It's
everywhere.
A small place.
It is small. It's not what I expected
and
when
then
we
went in to do the tasting, and they had all these bourbons out. I'm like,
you make all this here?
You make all this in this little place?
Yep. Yeah.
But we actually we did a thieve from one of the barrels, and it was.
Oh yeah.
They're like, oh, this one's supposed to taste like peach. No, it didn't taste like peach, but
it was good.
Still yummy.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It was cool.
No, literally the other day when I was making this itinerary for this other group, they really only had one full day. I sent them to the South Loop. I mean, the other ones are great.
Yep.
And they're staying at our house. It would have been very easy to just say do the Lawrenceburg stuff.
Yeah.
But they weren't really that into Buffalo Trace. They'd already been to Wild Turkey and Four Roses on a different trip. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, you're going south.
Do this one.
Do it. This.
That's
this
a good
is the
trip.
fun.
Yeah. And Limestone Branch is where you can get the bacon salt.
That's right.
That is used right here in the brewery.
For the bacon bourbon Bloody Marys.
But it is good.
That's where you buy that. For sure.
Okay, so we've talked a little about the different distilleries and the different loops. But really, to take advantage of all this planning that goes into it, you need to get the hookup with Chris.
Yes.
And there's 2 ways that I can think of that you can get that.
Buy him a beer, and he'll do anything you want.
Definitely.
Buy him a bourbon.
That too.
Top shelf.
We talked a little bit about,
and
we don't want this to be an ad for the Stubborn German House of Bourbon.
No,
and it's not. This is an ad for the Bourbon Trail. Mm-hmm. But another way you can get it is to join the Brown Water Society.
Yeah, for sure.
And take
What's
part
that?
in a barrel pick. So the Brownwater Society, we've talked about many times on the podcast. It is the bourbon club, for lack of a better term.
Yes.
Yeah, that we have here. That
At the brewery.
Has like 500 members.
There are like over 500 members. Yeah, it's crazy. But if you cozy up with Chris, buy him a beer.
Bourbon.
A bourbon. Yeah, buy him a bourbon.
You don't have to buy me anything. It's already mine.
You just might get invited, or they posted actually I think yesterday or something. Tammy posted something about the next barrel pick that's coming up. If you want to go, so anyway, definitely take part in a barrel pick.
Yeah,
which is going to one of these distilleries, and you get the red carpet treatment. Let me tell you.
You do.
You are going to participate in a private tour of the rick houses. You're going to get to taste, I don't know, 4 or 5, maybe more.
Yeah. When you went, it was like 5 or 6 barrels.
Maybe more.
8
barrels of bourbon.
17.
And you get to weigh in and kind of decide the pick that is going to come back, and they're going to sell these bottles
right here
in Waterloo at Stubborn German. Now, it's very possible that your vote might not get counted at all, because you might have picked the best bottle, but then Chris and everybody else picked the other
outvoted.
one. Yeah.
And then you still get your name on the picture.
You might have an embarrassing photo with a blurb about.
Are you on the Wilderness Trail?
I may or may not be.
Yes, I do. Was that Dad?
On the back of the Wilderness Trail.
No. It was the.
I do remember your picture, though.
Yes.
I was like, oh, hey, I know that guy.
It is that you do here to the owner.
To the owner. I may have asked the owner what he does here.
Of the distillery.
I didn't. Honestly, he looked like the janitor.
They all look like janitors.
They do look like janitors.
It's a disguise.
Hey,
they don't want people to know who they are.
It was only a little embarrassing. But so don't let that happen to you. And but yeah, so that is one way.
Do your homework. Find the owner of the distillery.
I would
Look
never
at his
do
picture.
that. Never would have thought to do that.
You probably also wouldn't just ask random strangers.
Hey, what do you do here?
I had a little.
You make bourbon?
I had some.
You had those 17
I
samples
in the samples. You got to pick a barrel somehow. Anyway, so you can go on a barrel pick, and on that trip, you're going to get to do a bunch of distillery tours.
You're going to get
Chris
to do
is
what
gonna
Chris
plan that
wants
out.
to do.
Exactly.
You would do whatever I want to do.
You will be running through the parking lot trying to make your time.
That's not true.
No,
I
not
ask
necessarily.
everyone what they want to do. Everyone has feedback.
So, again, you can do that. You can join a barrel pick tour. You can go with a group of 4 or 5 people, and you're going to... It's a ton of fun. I highly recommend it.
Highly recommend.
But you can also just go down on your own with your family or your friends and do a series of tours, and you can ask. Now, you only get this perk with Chris if you stay at the Stubborn German House of Bourbon.
The house.
Which, by the way, is amazing. It's so cool.
It is. My favorite part of the house, I mean, I have a lot of favorite parts. I really like sitting outside around the fire pit with the swings.
Yes.
Like, that's cool. I want that in my backyard.
Right.
But my favorite part was the bourbon share cabinet.
Yeah.
Like, there's literally a cabinet of bourbon. Like, you drink some, you leave some.
Yep.
And
it's like the take a penny, leave a penny at the gas station.
And I'm going to tell you what.
It's
like,
for bourbon, though.
We took full advantage of that cabinet.
And, people are... they're respectful of that, and so
totally.
They're
I
leaving.
haven't seen any problems with it. Yeah.
Well, but they're leaving good bottles.
Oh yeah.
And so when you go and you see this cabinet full of bottles, you're getting some good stuff.
There's some weird stuff in there too.
Sure, there's some peanut butter in there. No, you're going to get a very good selection of bottles that you're free to take a sip of, and
Yep.
And
or if you go with me and everybody's like, the bartender's here. Let's make some.
We go.
Let's make some bourbon drinks. There's some
old granddad
old fashioned.
old fashioned.
Yeah.
And that's where this all started.
And then now we don't have any more old granddad there.
Right.
We go through it here like crazy.
And you're going to pick up a bunch of bottles.
Oh yeah.
In your tour, and so you come back and you leave a bottle at the house, and it's all good. Karma.
Yep.
And there's beer in the fridge
Right.
too.
Yes. You know what else is in the fridge? And I really wish that
Hot
she
sauce.
was on this episode because I had a little issue with Tammy Ron. I found out from a recent post that she had it, and we've got some of it here. I'm holding it right now. I was a little miffed with Tammy. Apparently,
It's not Tammy. Chris makes it.
well, but she's the one that
posted the
posted it.
picture.
She revealed it. Apparently, at the Stubborn German House of Bourbon, in the refrigerator, along with the bottled water and beer, is the Stubborn German branded hot sauce. And let me tell you, I haven't had it yet. I'm smelling it, and it smells amazing. And I'm a little miffed that we can't get this hot sauce.
I mean, it's
up
been
here.
around for a while.
Well, apparently you can only get it in the refrigerator at the Stubborn German House of Bourbon.
That's the easiest place to get it.
And it smells and tastes delicious, and you can't buy it here anymore at the brewery. So I'm efforting that.
You never could buy it here.
I'm efforting that as we speak. Hopefully, in the next few weeks or months, you will be able to buy it here.
No, you just ask Chris for a jar.
Yeah.
He'll give you some.
You just ask real nice. I might.
Can I have some
But
of your hot sauce?
if you really want some, you schedule a tour in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, and Chris will hook you up with all the planning that you need. He will help you out with all of that,
and free hot sauce,
and you get some hot sauce, some good hot sauce. Let me tell you,
it is good. Goes great on scrambled eggs.
All right, and all this is great, and we appreciate Liz being on. And I didn't say it earlier because we talked about it on the last episode, but we miss Kevin.
That's right,
and he is not
Kevin,
here.
Kevin, come back.
And you can tell that he's not here because we are terrible without him.
Oh, it's not that bad.
Well, But what our listeners
better.
really want to know about is the answer to the German word of the day.
Oh, do you mean schnucky putzi?
Yes. I saw customers here look at us with furrowed
what did he
eyebrows.
just say?
Like, what did he? They covered their children's ears. Schnooky putzi.
Schnucky putzi.
Corn pudding.
Yes,
Liz
I'm
said
pretty sure
bourbon.
that's what it is.
Jared said corn
pudding.
It's corn pudding. No.
It's not.
That's a great guess,
What?
though.
I feel like it
Schnooky
is.
putzi means sweetie pie.
Sweetie pie.
Oh.
Wow.
What does that have to do with bourbon?
Now,
Nothing.
the irony is
See,
that
this sets up the next podcast when I will be on topic.
Chris planned this German word of the day when he thought it was just going to be me and Chris.
Yeah.
And
Oh, he was
sweetie
calling you his
pie.
sweetie
I feel
pie.
like
I was trying to.
that's probably what it was.
Did I ruin the moment?
So,
Yeah, it's okay.
yeah, we better wrap this one up soon.
Yeah. You better wrap it up, Schnooky Putzi.
Yes. Oh, my gosh. I'm going to go home tonight and call my wife Schnooky Putzi.
gonna be like, what
She's
did you
gonna
just say?
slap the crap out of me. Well, we thank you for tuning in and hopefully subscribing to whatever this is.
The Stubborn German podcast.
And you can find it on all of your favorite podcast apps and Amazon and Spotify.
We're on Amazon?
We're everywhere. We're everywhere, Chris.
We are?
We definitely
Kind
are.
of a big deal.
We
my
are a big
God.
deal.
I didn't know we were on Amazon.
All
Yes.
6 listeners.
Yeah.
I'm on Amazon all the time. I
Right?
feel like.
Oh, yeah. And we
Wow.
thank Liz for being here again.
Hey,
Thanks,
no
Liz.
problem.
Repeat guest. We
Yeah.
love repeat guests.
I'll be back next time. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But
Let's keep going.
as we always do at the end of every episode, we raise a glass. Prost.
Hello.
We are recording now.
Hello.
It's on.
This Liz Old Fashioned is doing
Delicious.
it.
good, huh?
I got
Did
one
you get
too.
one?
Yeah.
No, I went.
Oh, he just went with
neat.
bourbon of the week.
Bourbon of the week. That's my vice.
That's your advice.
He loves his bourbon.
The
That is
brown
delicious.
sugar simple syrup is.
That's where it's at, man.
It is where it's at.
It's hard to make.
Where
they
it's
say.
at.
It's so difficult to
No.
make. You gotta
Heat up
slave
some-
over it for hours.
It's like equal parts brown sugar to water. It's not hard.
You'd think it'd be easy when she says it like that.
oh,
well.
man.
Are you good with your word of the day?
Oh, are we doing that again?
I think.
Isn't that a
You
trend?
could change it up and do the Slovenian word
yeah,
of the day.
I got it.
English
word.
word of the day. Bourbon.
That's right. All right.
All right.
Are you taking my picture?
No,
or
I'm looking at the.
Smile.
He's holding his camera up right in front of me.
He's one-handed it. That's why
Yeah.
he's got to hold it like
Okay.
that.
I gotta.
Pointed at Liz. Jeez.
You don't want my picture.
You good?
Yes.
All right.
Let her rip.